Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the third segment of Relentless Talk Radio. This is the art and fashion segment. So I have Tiffany, who is about ready to talk to us about how she balances her art and her business life. So Tiffany, tell everybody who you are and what you do professionally, but also how you practice as an artist.
Absolutely. So hi, everybody. So I think it's been like a lifelong battle of trying to integrate all the parts of self when you're an artist, when you have the intellect side that's constantly hungry for information. And for me, I'm a CPA, so I function as a specialist in the CPA world. And then my background in the arts, I grew up, as a dancer, as a painter, as a writer. Anything that could touch the arts for me was something that was critically important. So I still do all of those things. I'm also a yoga instructor, so it is a balance trying to get everything into play at once.
And you do taekwondo? Is that what you do?
Close. Yeah, I do jujitsu actually. Yeah, I train jujitsu.
There's my ignorance, right?
No, it's all good.
I insulted you.
I did do taekwondo when I was younger, but yeah, jujitsu is what I studied primarily for self-defense. But it's an amazing art of just discipline and taking responsibility for your body and being able to protect it.
So you and I, I'm trying to remember who introduced us. Who introduced us?
Karen.
Karen.
So she basically said, you do a lot of things. She does a lot of things. You guys
What's Karen's last name?
I'm going to butcher it if I try to say it.
She's
Karen In.
Yeah, she's the essential oils chick.
Huh?
She's the Young Living essential oils chick.
She's the, Nowicki. Nowicki?
Oh my God, it's Karen Nowicki.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I get introduced. I have so many people. Right now I'm collaborating with about 150 people.
Yep.
So I forget how I meet people. So I met Nowicki. Yeah, she is the owner of Phoenix Business X Radio, and she's fantastic.
Yeah. I adore her.
Fantastic. So I thanks to Karen for introducing us. And it's good that we both had a hard time with her last name.
Okay.
It took 10 years to get my last name right.
I know.
He's a tough one. So you and I have this in common. This is why Karen introduced us. We have a business brain and it's extremely analytical. I have a master's in administration with a concentration in organizational behavior. How did that happen? I don't know. I have 2 degrees in art. I've been an athlete my whole life, and I've been a dancer and I'm a yoga instructor. And so you and I have a lot in common. And so when we talked on the phone, we thought, wow, that's really interesting. So this is one of the things that I know why I'm the way I am. Why are you this combination of things?
I mean, the why is a lifelong process of understanding. But for me, I really feel that life is meant to be lived as the greatest art form you have. And for me, I think my brain and the way I see the world and the way that I see things, I've always been very empathetic and I've always been very in tune with the things around me. And I think the internal desire to express a depth has always been just this gnawing desire for me in everything that I do. And when I'm not able to live in that zone, I feel an ache that is just insolvable otherwise. So for me, it's just always been this journey of, okay, so how can I be my most authentic self? Right. How can I value and trust that, I like the smart stuff, I'm totally into doing the CPA things, understanding things. But my whole goal really is to try to figure out how to actualize myself the best way possible so that I can go into the world and create a positive impact on those around me. And that's really been my guiding light and the only thing I've wanted to do. And I feel like the only way that I can do that is if I'm being honest with myself, if I'm looking at the structures around me and saying, hey, that doesn't really fit me, so I got to figure out a way to design something that does. And I'm not willing to compromise any part of myself as I move forward. I want to bring it all to the table. And if I'm sitting in a room with somebody, I want to be able to figure out how to be flexible and flow and navigate them and take them in as they are. And I don't think you can do that unless you're really, really clear with who you are, what you're capable of, and what your gifts are, basically.
I love what you're saying. I was just talking with a good friend about this, that anytime I've tried to narrow my focus, and the reason why I created Relentless Talk Radio is because the 4 pillars of philanthropy, health and fitness, art and fashion, and entrepreneurism are my 4 pillars. It's what I've been doing my whole life. So people will say, well, what are you doing now, Michelle? I'm like, well, I've always been doing this. What happened was when I was a financial advisor, I was just a financial advisor to the public. You know, when I was personal training, I was just personal training, you know? And, you know, when I decided to add art back into my mix, I couldn't just be an artist because I had to be able to bridge that gap between my art living being enough for me to be able to support myself. So Relentless Talk Radio came out of a process of saying to myself, I'm tired of segmenting myself to make a living. I am a Renaissance woman. I am a person that gives of God who believes that service is a very important part of functioning. I am a person that believes in health and wellness and yoga and taking care of one's body is a very it's not like a hobby. It's the first thing you're supposed to do is take care of your body and your mind. Yeah. If you can't do that, then you can't do the rest of it. And art and fashion and being a creative, it's not something that I kept on wanting to, I'll get to it when I'm older. I'll keep on putting it off. I keep on, you know, kind of putting it aside. Eventually, when I realized my entrepreneurism was forcing me to become the balanced person I was publicly, I created Relentless Talk Radio. And I love what you're saying, because what you're saying is if I don't do all of these things that make me feel balanced, it's a gnawing ache. Is that what you said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely gnawing ache. Yeah. So what do you think the biggest lesson is that you've learned about being this balanced Renaissance person? What's the biggest lesson that you've kind of learned over the years?
I think it has been a lot of trial and error, and it's been a lot of the dark nights of the soul. And as far as reconciling, okay, how much am I willing to move forward and try to succeed at the game that everybody thinks you're supposed to succeed at in life? And how much am I just needing to go back and say, hey, I need a total redesign, and I'm willing to take the risk of potentially not succeeding at the standard way of living in order to create something. And I think, you know, the moment I decided for myself, and this has been a process my whole life. I've been a rebel. I've been a questioning type of person, and I never liked the standard way of doing things. I'm not very, I don't accept the, well, we've always done it this way thought process. It's just not the way I work. And I do that to myself too. It's like, do I really believe this, or do I need to question that? Do I need to look at it? So it's just that constant reflection and questioning. And I think what art has taught me the most, and how I apply that to the rest of my life basically, is you have to be really willing to stand on the edge of uncertainty and be in that really uncomfortable space of, I'm not actually sure what the future looks like. All I know is I need to be me, and whatever that looks like, I know that's going to get me to the right place. So when you're in a situation, and I was in public accounting, I mean, it's one of the most stale, like, you know, if you're talking about structure, it's one of the most stale structures you can be in. So I'm like pushing at the walls, trying to figure out a better way to do things, and then realizing that the structure itself wasn't set up to accommodate who I was. So I needed to say, okay, so if that's not the case, I need to figure out a different way to use this knowledge to help people. And so I need to go figure out a way to do that. And
so you have your own CPA firm?
So I'm the director of Ascena Consulting, and I work with people that are completely aligned with my vision. And I have 2 partners in California, and I'm the primary presence in Arizona. And really all I do all day long is connect with people, connect with business owners, talk to them about the things they're creating and the stuff that they're building. And then I figure out a way to get that money back from the government. So it's kind of like a win-win situation for me.
So as an artist, how could we participate in viewing your art and seeing what you're doing as an artist?
So I do have a very minimal presence online. A lot of my art is still analog offline. And I do, I think on the writing side and on the photography and the acrylic oil side, I do share some stuff on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook, but yeah, I like the live style of art sharing. So come find me.
What's your Instagram page?
So my personal one is just my name, and my art one is my name, Tiffany Bisconer Artistry. And then I have one as a CPA so that I can share some knowledge there too. And that's just TiffanyBisconer.CPA.
Okay, so it's TiffanyBisconer.
Perfecto.
Yeah. On Instagram or Facebook, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
And because this broadcast will be a podcast, and so they will be able to see your name on the screen eventually.
Oh, got
it. so this broadcast will go to YouTube, and then it will also be going to Anchor FM on a podcast. Soon people will be able to hear it on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Play, and potentially iHeartRadio. So we're one step at a time, right? So I was initially working with an internet radio station and decided to take control of the product and realized that most people were watching me on Facebook Live anyway. So I shoot this is a creative process, right? I shoot Relentless Talk Radio and record it on Facebook Live every week at Tuesday, and then it goes to my YouTube channel, Micalizzi Enterprises YouTube channel, and then from there it goes right to podcast. So that's the plan for this. And so if you were to say advice you would have for folks that are not making art and that are not balancing their life with their health and fitness and are kind of just stuck in their 9-to-5 job, not being healthy and not feeling inspired, what advice would you give them?
You know, I really feel like our main responsibility in this world is to be honest with ourselves and take the chances of asking questions on where can I fix things and where can I start. I think what happens a lot of times when people get into situations and they feel kind of that things aren't aligned, it just becomes a downward spiral of just feeling that pressure of, well, I can't change anything anyway. Like, what am I going to change? Am I going to leave my job and just go live in the streets? And some people do. And I was debating that myself. Right. But I think there's always a way if you're willing to really look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, where are things not working and where can I take the first step to do that? And for me, creating things is that portal. Like when I step away and I'm not painting, or if I'm not standing in front of something and just looking at the unknown and allowing myself to create, I feel that is when I start feeling just my potential start to dim. And when I jump back in, even if I'm not ready, even if I'm having a crappy day and I'm just like not ready to try to create and go into that space where I need to be vulnerable and open with myself and just let things flow, I do it anyway. I don't really care about my own opinion about things. I just know that I need to. So I do. And every time I do.
Art is more of a form of personal expression and release than it is a monetized element, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And do you plan on showing to sell at some point, or are you kind of?
Yeah, I have in the past with my photography, some of my paintings, and my writing, definitely. I think the writing, this next phase of my life, it'll be a greater part of my focus.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading more of your stuff, to seeing more art that you're creating, and to get to know you personally. I hope that you'll come and hike with us. We're going to be hiking on Fridays at Camelback Mountain or Mojave Trail. It's alternating Fridays. So 2 Fridays a month we'll be hiking those trails, and then one Sunday a month. And then also, if you want to come, we're dancing on July 4th.
I took notes. I got that.
Yeah, so come dance with us. That might be fun. 90 minutes. It'd be good to see you if you have that day off. And I look forward to getting to know you more in the future. And thanks so much for being the example. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely. Thanks for doing this.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, guys. Well, we'll be right back with the 4th and final segment of Relentless Talk Radio with Charles from AZ Power Solutions.